Oh, it's good to have potentially got a shot of you, Brock. Ladies and gentlemen, Marks and Marquettes, welcome to the Throwing the Book Wrestling Podcast. I am Shaun, and today we'll be talking about what I would have changed from Wrestlemania 35. But before we do that, there are one or two things we need to get to. Firstly, everybody's least favourite segment, including mine at this stage. I kind of hate that I do this. The potential background noise sweepstakes. Well, one that I have failed to address so far in all of the episodes is the potential background hum of my computer. That's something that I can't really change. I apologise about that. But today, on your bingo cards, hopefully, is there was a tweeting bird which was not tweeting up until I started. I don't know if it picked up, but I'm starting to think that sparrow might be the only fan that the podcast has. It's better than none. You know, I'll take it. I respect you, sparrow. And we also have... Well, I couldn't quite tell. Earlier on, there was this noise coming from one of the gardens. It may have been a tool, but it sounded more like a remote control car, kind of whirring to and fro. So that would be something. And also, I think there is a neighbour's child playing in one of the gardens, which may pick up. Which I almost feel bad that I might pick up. I'm not blaming them. It's just what happens. Also, I didn't do the bloody as live reactions to Raw and SmackDown, did I? No, I didn't, because I'm starting to think that might actually not be the best idea. Right? I mean, it's seeing the journey from episode 3 when I thought of it to here. It would be quite interesting to listen back to, kind of put it all together. But I think what I might do instead is to make sure that I do it, and so it doesn't take up a lot of time in a day. I might just at some point in the day do similar to what I do with the live reactions of the pay-per-views and give kind of reviews of segments, but after watching them just by myself, not tweeting live reactions as I see them. I think that would work, and I think it would be a bit easier. And also, I did always think that the one problem with the segment would be that the time that it would have to happen, because I don't think I could manage doing it actually live. I just don't think that would work. But so that was the big hassle, and I think that might solve it. I might see if I can do something. Maybe I could definitely do live reactions of shows like NXT and 205 Live, which I've always said that I would watch 205 Live. So I can definitely do that, because there's a straight up on the network, which could work. And also, I might actually, come to think of it, if I did 205 Live and like NXT UK, you could call it something like, I don't know, since they're not really well watched, it could be like doing your homework or something like that. I think I can definitely do that, and that may well be implemented within the next couple of weeks. So do follow us on Twitter at ThrowingBookPod, because there will be stuff there. Also, last week I did mention an idea that I had to do a sort of kind of vlog series that would also go up as a podcast on going to live wrestling shows. And I think I said at the time that it would sort of happen around, if it's going to happen soon, it would be kind of late April, early March. It's probably going to be mid-March, because, not March, May. I meant May. I did that the other day as well. I get March and May mixed up when I'm in April. It's never helpful. May. It'll be mid-May, because as it happens, I happen to buy a ticket to a certain show. Very, very suddenly, I might add. I won't say what that show is, but what I will say, well, you can probably figure it out, because it's kind of very close to where I am, because I'm in the south of England. But what I will say is that the attraction that rather drew me in to buying a ticket, let's say their name rhymes with Bilo Biley. There you go. That's crap. So I will do that, and you will eventually see that on the Throwing the Book YouTube channel. Not sure when, but it will come up. All I've got to do now is make sure that I get there and film everything, and also come up with a name for it. I'm still stumped on that. What to call that series? Any suggestions would be welcome, but you know. But you will eventually find out what the name is. That is in due time, because hopefully I'd have thought of something. Even if it's just a placeholder. I'm not the sort of person who would delay a product. We'll go with product. I meant project, but product it will be. That will delay something because I can't think of a name. Yeah, that's not what I'd do. Well, I don't think that's what I'd do. But anyway, quick chat about Raw and SmackDown. It was interesting because they're kind of non-events in a way. It's like not much happened. I mean, there were some big moments, yes, but when it was all said and done, there weren't any NXT call-ups, which is probably a good thing given how many we've had. But, you know, you still kind of want to see something go on. I mean, how cool would it have been if the Undisputed Era would have broken up that I'm going to put in big old quotes, winner take all match. If they'd have interrupted that would have been amazing. But no, it was the bar. In fact, I'd say if there's one phrase to sum up Raw and SmackDown this week, it would be, let's see if I can do it in 5 words, it would be the bar ruined everyone's fun. Also, Sami Zayn coming back as a heel, that was interesting. I mean, I realised he was a heel when he left. But this is the problem with reviewing something straight after Mania happens. Because we don't know where it's going. We don't know where any of this is going. So you can't really make assumptions just yet. That's why I'm going to be talking about some of the early NXT call-ups in the next few episodes of Throwing the Book after this one. Speaking of them, Lars Sullivan, he turned up. He was a big boy. He was a big boy, and he was a mean boy as well. And I can't help but notice that I think both attacks, he did the freak accident, and then he did the diving headbutt, and it seemed to be what was sold by the wrestlers. I hope the diving headbutt isn't his finisher now, because I just don't like the diving headbutt as a move. If all of the stuff with concussions and stuff that it can cause is accurate, I don't really want people to do it, particularly not people with quite a lot of weight and bulk behind them, because I can only imagine that would make it worse. But I suppose it's up to him. If he wants to use that move, that's fine. And it's good to have you, Lars. We understand you had your anxiety issues, and it's good to have you back. It's one of the reasons why I was not going to. Well, I'm still not. But when I do those original NXT call-ups, not the Ricochet and Aleister Black ones, they will be another time. But the kind of 6 original ones, you know, on their way to WWE, those ones, I'm not gonna do one on Lars, because ultimately that would mean essentially saying that, well, I just don't think I wouldn't be comfortable talking about it, because I'd essentially be saying that, because it would have to start a caveat of Lars doesn't have an anxiety attack, and that's an awful thing to say, I feel, because I mean, he can't help it, he can't control that, but it's good to have you back, and it'll be interesting to see where you go. Also, interesting similarities to Brock Lesnar as early matches, i.e. beating up the Hardy Boys. I mean, I don't think he should get a Brock Lesnar push. I mean, we've just got rid of one, and we might not have even got rid of him. We don't need another. And also, he can't. I don't say he's the same sort of performer as Lesnar was back then, really, because Lesnar was, well, he could just do. He could do things that nobody else around him could do, like he was doing shooting star presses in OVW and trying to at WrestleManias, which for someone his size, nobody could do that. But one, you have big guys who can move now, like properly a lot more frequently, like Dijak and Keith Lee. And I don't think there's much that Sullivan does that couldn't be done by a similar man of his size, like say Braun Strowman. I'm not disrespecting Lars in any way, but I just think that I'm rather hoping that that's not the push that they give him. Is this me partially being slightly salty on behalf of other NXT call-ups? Possibly. But actually, yeah, does that count as a call-up? I'm going to say that it doesn't, because you had the promo packages. Like, you had the promo packages before the On Their Way stuff, and then you had the On Their Way stuff. So I'm going to say that isn't a call-up. Right. But anyway, before I get bogged down on technicalities, I think we should move on to the main topic of this show, that being WrestleMania 35 and what I'd have changed. So, transition. Well then, WrestleMania 35. Overall, I would say it was pretty good. We got a lot of the big results that we wanted. We got some nice surprises. And there was only really one part that was actively or properly bad on the main show. Arguably, we could say that there was one on the pre-show, but I wouldn't call it out and out bad. But I'll get to that. But yeah, I think as a show, I think it was pretty good. Far too long though. Like my sleep has not recovered, and we're doing this on Wednesday, and I have the luxury, which quite a lot of people don't have, of being able to get quite good, solid sort of 8 hours of sleep, and I haven't recovered yet. If you've got like a morning shift at like I don't know, some sort of courier company, carry a lot of things, do a lot of physical work, and you watch WrestleMania, dear God, what would that have done to you? So obviously I think the first thing that I would change, obviously, is make it a bit shorter. That would help. I think there'd be matches that I'd cut from it. I'd say maybe cut maybe the Cruiserweight match, Styles Orton, Reigns McIntyre, the Elias segment, maybe Joe Mysterio as well. Admittedly, that didn't take up too much time, and again, we'll get to that. But, you know, just cut a couple of matches down, and then kind of go from there. There's a lot of talk now that they should try and split WrestleMania over 2 weekends, which... Not 2 weekends, two shows, which is understandable. The problem, though, is that in all likelihood they would probably want to put one on the Saturday, one on the Sunday. There goes a plane in the background. So therefore, if you a week of WWE wrestling on WrestleMania, if you wanted to watch all of it, would be Raw on Monday, SmackDown on Tuesday, NXT on Wednesday, probably a Hall of Fame ceremony on a Thursday. And by the way, while Hall of Fame is on the brain, whoever that guy who attacked Bret Hart while he was in the middle of his speech, I hope that you get absolutely fucked up by everyone you meet. Everyone. I want, when you go to hell, and you will go to hell, I want the devil to produce to you a 9-foot version of Scott Dawson to punch you in the face and balls for eternity. That's what you deserve. So where was I? So Hall of Fame probably on a Thursday, then the NXT Takeover on a Friday, and then WrestleMania show 1 on the Saturday, show 2 on the Sunday, and then the next Monday it'd be another Raw again. Just for the fans, that's tiring. I mean, imagine. I mean, I doubt this would happen, but imagine if you're in a situation where there's a storyline where you've got more than one match on WrestleMania. So you've got a big match on the Saturday, a big match on the Sunday, and then you've got to go to Raw and do something there. Particularly if, like this year, you had Right, okay, let's say they have an NXT call-up, like Ricochet and Aleister Black, and they're kind of drifting, and they would have to do take over 2 WrestleMania shows, and then potentially Raw and SmackDown if things go the way they did this year. Like, that's just gonna... What's that gonna... I can't even comprehend the sort of physical toll that would take. So I think if I were to split it over into 2 shows, what I would do is I would have... How do I put this? You'd have WrestleMania still on the Sunday, and that would have half of the big matches. And then instead of doing like a show 1 on like a Saturday, what you do is treat the Raw after WrestleMania as the WrestleMania second show. Perhaps you could have a lot of the Raw matches go on there, and elevate the Raw after Mania to an actual sort of proper show in that sense. Something that you can buy on pay-per-view if you so desire, or something that will be streamed live on a network. I think that would... It's a bit of a clunky way of doing it, I realise, but that would probably be the best solution to that, so there's at least one day for people to rest. But apart from the length, what else would I change? Well, I think we'll get to that. I feel like I tend to do 2 transitions all the time. This was not meant to be a transition point, but I feel like I'm indebted to do another D-chord anyway. So, here we go. There you go. That's what you all wanted. So, we'll start on the pre-show. Well, first thing I would change about the pre-show is, why did the pre-show stop after the first hour and then come back to the pre-show? Is that a pre-show? Was that only being shown on like YouTube or something, and the other one was on like a network? Just keep it as all one thing. It's like, anyway, there's probably a good reason for that. That's probably the least thing, the least of our worries, so to speak. But you know, it just kind of bugged me a bit. A lot of these matches, well, I don't want to change too much. Mainly because the whole idea of this is to try not to necessarily change results or not do it too much, but just kind of change how they did it, how you get to that result. Which is kind of awkward talking about, because the first match is a cruiserweight match, and I mean, I've still not got to watching 205 Live. I probably will by next week, hopefully. So, this match, the finish of this match, it made sense. I liked how it went as someone who doesn't watch 205 Live. So I think for that one, we'll keep it the same. So, moving swiftly on to the Women's Battle Royal. Now, this, I would say, was the one major low point of the pre-show. Because I just don't like how they did it. I just think there's quite a lot of things that could have been changed. Firstly, give Ember Moon a proper entrance. She's just come back from injury, you monsters. She deserves it. She's really good. You could have had one extra entrance in there and have it be Ember Moon. That would have been fine. She didn't have to be wandering to the ring with everyone else. Secondly, if you're going to do this person went under the bottom rope. They were never eliminated. Aren't they clever? One, you'd want someone to kind of have a character of vague sort of cunningness and competence, which, well, maybe not Carmella, but certainly our trophy with her in that act definitely doesn't have. And also, you want to film them going under the bottom rope, because then it's just like the person, Sarah Logan, we thought had won, and then it's like, oh, Carmella, look. It's like nobody. Unless if I missed it, I may have missed it. I'm not gonna. So if I did miss it, then that is all on me. But Carmella was just kind of gone. I just completely forgotten that she was even in the match, and then she just kind of shows up and it's like, oh, what are you doing? Like, you get out of the ring. Sarah Logan won. You monster. I said monster again. Thirdly, Carmella does not need this win. In fact, we know that the only place it's going to be taken is a It's comedy, basically. The only place that match winner is going to go is comedy. It's the same as the mixed match challenge. But you, just because last year the Women's Battle Royal didn't do anything for Naomi, that doesn't necessarily mean that every Royal Rumble, Women's Battle Royal after that is meaningless. It's like, I feel like WWE almost feel like they've forgotten that they can control their own destiny. If you want to push someone, use a big match on a big stage for them to win so you can push them. You have the power to make something mean something. And then one time where it didn't exactly work out, where the push didn't really happen, that can just be a blip. Instead of defining what the match is. So, I mean, if I were booking it, I'd have said, well, firstly, this is just, well, it's not really a storyline I came up with, but given that you're pushing Lacey Evans, why did you not have her just win this? Because after her Royal Rumble performance, she just walked in and walked out, up till and including Mania, and then it's like that, and that tells you nothing, and then suddenly she's just attacking Becky Lynch, who's champion on both brands. That's not a build for a world title challenger. Like, that, if that was the case, then surely everybody would be doing it. Surely everybody would be going halfway to the ring and going back. Just logically, thinking in the kayfabe sense. Then just, like, why isn't it? Because they always say, oh, like, a championship is a target on the back. If Lacey Evans can do that, then why aren't champions being attacked all the time? And why isn't every match like a 10-way? Because that doesn't make sense. For kayfabe-wise. Basically, if you want to push Lacey there, have Lacey win this match, and then when she attacks Becky Lynch, that people think, oh, okay, that means something. If you don't want Lacey in the match, I mean, fine. If you don't, then have someone like Sarah Logan win, or Asuka win. But actually, personally, if I was out of the final three that we had, I'd have probably picked Sonya Deville, because I think that I realise that Asuka's just come off losing the title, and it'd probably be handy if she had a bit of momentum behind her. But the problem with that would be that is it would seem like a consolation prize, so to speak, and that kind of wouldn't exactly get fans in the best mood. But with Sonya, if she wins and then gets a big push, which she deserves, she's very, very good, then that does the same thing as what the Lacey win would do, is elevating that match and elevating her at the same time. So it's like, it was. I think the reason why I didn't like this match to the degree that I did is it is very much a case of it's how you leave them, and basically we saw a lot of that final three had a lot of potential for, like, oh, okay, this could be interesting, and then we just see it get taken right in front of our eyes. So, yeah, perhaps I have too sour opinions on this match. I've just burped there. But, you know, I can't help it now. I've already said the words. Okay, right, next one. Raw Tag Title match. Again, I'd pretty much keep that the same. I particularly like the commentator saying, you don't want to get in a fight with Dash Wilder. Nice. And admittedly, it's a bit crap that the Revival lose their belts, but it's good to have Kurt Hawkins' losing streak storyline have a payoff. If I were to change anything, I'd actually change the build, as in it would have some, rather than just kind of being there. Andre the Joyous Giant. Andre Battle Royal. Strowman won, which was probably the right decision. The SNL stuff was. It was okay, I guess. I mean, I'm glad that they properly sold to the wrestlers. Like, I think, what was it? Was it the first segment they did where Jost? I mean, I don't care what their names are. Colin. I mean, his name's definitely Colin. Colin kind of gets picked up by the neck by Strowman and then he doesn't sell it. So I'm glad that they sold it, because otherwise we would have had a jackass. Was it Jackass who didn't sell through Umaga? Yeah, I think it was that. But anyway, if I were to change one thing, I would say maybe there was when we had the moment when the SNL guys thought that they were about to eliminate Strowman and didn't. It would have. I feel like it could have used with a bit less kind of stare down and then realising that they fucked up, because it's a good shot. I'm not denying that, but it went on for too long. I think Chris Masters missed his cue. And by the way, yeah, that was Chris Masters in the suit, the therapist guy. So if there's one other tiny thing I'd change, I'd have I don't know who was on commentary at the time. I'd assume well, it doesn't matter who's on commentary, because I'd just have one of them say, "Hey, he looks a bit like Chris Masters." Funny that. Main show. Universal Championship match first, which was a surprise. I liked the fact that he had that. Also, I liked the fact that they didn't tell Hulk Hogan after he just came out. Personally, I wouldn't have had him come out, by the way. But just after he they'd just done that kind of weird, like this Alexa Bliss clicking her fingers and Thanosing Hulk Hogan into existence. And then Paul Heyman just walks past him and Hogan's just like, what? What the fuck? Didn't even say hello. But I like the reason that they're given. I've heard that this decision was actually made during the Hogan segment. So the fact that Heyman comes down perfectly smooth and comes up with a perfectly good kind of rationale as to why Lesnar wants this match to go on first, then that's bloody brilliant work. I mean, personally, I would have liked to see. I think I tweeted this at the time, and I wouldn't actually do this, but I think Graves was saying, "This is a brilliant move from Lesnar. Seth's not ready." I would have quite liked to see some sort of camera shot going in, and Seth's just frantically getting changed. He just hasn't realised his match is on next. He's like, "Oh shit! I knew I should have my gear on. Damn it!" But anyway. This match was, as a match, it was only like 2 minutes long. I think I did quite like it, and there was the kind of attacking Rollins before he gets to the ring to get the heat, and I like that. It's something that Lesnar would do. Actually, quickly, I'm pretty sure though the whole Lesnar isn't gonna wants to come out first if he isn't going on last. I'm pretty sure there's been at least a couple of shows in his title run where he hasn't gone on last. Like, he didn't go on last at the Royal Rumble because that was the Royal Rumble. So I don't know why he didn't complain then. But, yeah. And then you have the match, and Lesnar still dominating, German suplexes, etc. Ref gets distracted, punch to the knob, which is apparently, I think Brock Lesnar has the case of Achilles' penis, because whenever he's been hit low, he sells that like he has been shot. Like, when he gets back up after the curb stomp, he's not really selling the curb stomp. He kind of is, but he's making a lot more effort on selling the damage to his testes. It's like, again, if Lesnar is affected this much, why doesn't everybody do it? And I have heard people say that, given that Seth Rollins wants to kind of fight the good fight and bring the title back because the fans want the fences and kind of, I remember seeing a post on social media with, I think he put like a picture of the Battleground poster when they face each other and said yes, this time I want to do this fight right, and then he punches him in the knob. But you know, seeing Brock Lesnar getting punched in the balls is quite satisfying. And given that Lesnar had been a complete douche leading up to that, I suppose it means that they're even. So, although I would have liked to see Rollins beaten kind of properly clean, I'm perfectly fine with that. if that's how it wants to go, that's how it's going to go. If Brock is saying like he wants to come back and wants a bit of protection in the finish, then that is what you do. So that's fine. AJ versus Orton. First change I would make about this would be to not blind people when the lights come on. That would be handy because it's important to get the crowd invested. In fact, I feel like this match kind of did suffer a little bit from that happening because the crowd weren't exactly all there. And you can tell it did kind of affected Randy's performance a little bit. Not as much as in the past by any means, because he's been distracted far too often and far too much at times. But you can tell it did kind of take a little bit away from the match. I would say maybe it needed to be a little bit quicker because it was a tad bit slow. I suppose that happens, but you know, pick up a little bit of pace. And I would have had, instead of having the 2 spots with the RKO, well, a phenomenal forearm and 2 RKO tees, I'd have had 3 because rule of 3 is nice. And I think that's pretty much it, because I think basically what should have happened is at some point Orton should have hit that, and instead of having to just kind of him hitting the normal RKO, he hits that, the RKO out of a phenomenal forearm, but AJ manages to roll out the ring, and then I don't know exactly when about you have it in the match, but I think just having 3 spots there is a thing, because that's what everybody was really looking forward to in the match, seeing what would happen there. If you do 3 separate things with that, I think it would work out quite well. And I think that's all to change. SmackDown tag match. Yeah, it's perfectly fine. Again, it's perfectly fine. A lot of these matches are just fine. So you know, it's quite nice. I mean, what I will say is that the whole Cesaro swinging Ricochet around like he's a bag of, I didn't think of anything light to say there. Candy floss? Candy floss is quite light. Like a bag of candy floss. And Sheamus whacking it at people in the chest, whoever got in his way. Probably would have done the cameraman if WWE had let him. I like that. I like that a lot. And can somebody tell me how many swings Ricochet and Cesaro managed? Because I want to know. I wasn't counting. It was great. That part. Right, next one. Shane McMahon versus The Miz. Well then, okay. How did this happen? And why was it so amazing? Why have we not seen Miz Dad before? Like, that part, it was this. It almost doesn't go with the rest of the match. It's like it's you got this kind of this big sort of Falls Count Anywhere brawl with things that there was. I suppose that there was that golf cart spot which could be seen as a bit humorous, but that was pretty much a big kind of serious sort of match with Miz completely kicking the crap out of Shane in that sort of babyface "I'm going to kill you" sort of way. But then before that bit happens, you've got Miz's dad squaring up to Shane McMahon like he's a Victorian sort of bar fighter, like, "How about you?" One facial expression, Miz Dad. He was brilliant, and yet awful in so many ways, but also brilliant. And yeah, I think overall this match was weirdly good, and I think that it finally, Shane McMahon being a 49 or however year old man in a ring with actual wrestlers while he's just a businessman, finally made a bit of sense, because he was not doing anything to Miz for most. My guitar just fell over. I annoyingly, given the time that it happened, I don't think I can cut that out. Well, that's something that I didn't expect to be in the noise in the background sweepstakes. In many ways, it does sort of sum up the Shane McMahon versus Miz match, because you didn't expect it to happen, and it happens, and you think, oh, okay, it's different. That was a stretch, I'll be honest, but I was just trying to reel us back, and yeah, but I think the finish was really good. It was one of those times where the kind of snarky part of my head want to see the two after the suplex kind of there. I just think, hang on, Shane's on top of the Miz. Miz has got his shoulders down. Why isn't he counting? And then the moment I think that, the ref starts counting. It's like, there actually is some internal logic going on. I like it. So yeah, I think this match was pretty good, and it's good. I've been thrown off a lot here. Next match. Oh, this match. It was good. It was alright. It didn't really live up to Miz and McMahon, but it was good. I liked it because the Iconics won the Women's Tag Team Championships. And I think I said on Twitter when I reacted to it that I have said in the past that the Boston Hug Connection really should hold on to those belts. But having the Iconics hold them, one, it's a really nice moment because they were a tag team long before Banks and Bayley were. And I've said in the past that they work very well as a tag team because, well, they work as a tag team. Both of them by themselves are kind of chicken shit heels. But together they can actually do something. And work best together, like a proper tag team should. And they're just fun. Like, I don't understand how an act can be so endearing yet so annoying at the same time, but in the exact ways that you want. Like, I don't know if they're going to do another Australian show, but they really should, and they really should be holding the belts then, because that's really cool. Is it a shame that Boston Hug lost the belts? I suppose so. But if WWE believe that the roster is big enough that you can hypothetically take Bayley and Banks out of that picture, insert a couple more people in to the women's tag division. In fact, there are rumours that the Sky Pirates might go up and face the Iconics, because was it Paige? Yeah, it was Paige said, "Oh, why don't I get a tag team?" Which, by the way, on that note, Paige, hi Paige. I don't know. I realise you've been promoting a film for a while, and you've just got back, but you do realise you're not the GM of SmackDown anymore. Like, why can you? What power do you have to bring in another team? Why? I mean, you could call people and say, "Hey, guys, come in," but they'll just be turned away at the door, won't they? Anyway, logical fallacies aside on a segment that wasn't even on WrestleMania, this was good and I like it, and the Iconics should have a long reign as because then by the time that a team eventually does dethrone them, I would say Sky Pirates would be the best team for it. Not right now, but in time, I think that'd be a very, very good moment. Perhaps hold them up to WrestleMania 36, which, oh look, it's pirate themed. That's probably quite loud, I apologise. And then you can have them win there. Maybe. It's just an idea. Just an idea. And then we had the best match of the night. So, up to this point, this show was really good. But then it still had like 2 or 3 hours left, which became its problem. But Kofi Kingston beating Daniel Bryan for the WWE Championship was amazing. Bryan put in one of the best performances of pay-per-view that I have seen, certainly while doing this podcast. And there was some, and I say that because there was something that was indescribable about what he was doing in the match. It's like everything. It felt like he was scouted everything that Kofi did, and he was so good as a heel. It's almost like you forgot he was a babyface originally. Like when he came back, like bloody hell, like, it was really good. And you had the New Day cheering Kofi on, and then he wins, and and they go in the ring and they're hugging. Everyone's jumping up and down. The kids come in the ring. They got the new belt, and I wasn't. Well, I think again I said this on Twitter. Although not physically, there was not water coming out of my eyes, but inside I was crying quite badly. That just got me. I don't know. It kind of confused me why that got me and the NXT ending didn't. But oh god, it was brilliant in every way. It was great. It was great. Match was amazing. Although I would say, actually, if there's one slight critique of the match, I would say that it kind of ended quite abruptly, because you had Kofi kind of stomping on Bryan's head, kind of as to pay off for him doing it earlier in the match and in the build, and then he just hit the Trouble in Paradise and won, which is good. But I feel like you could have had. I realise this show was long enough, but it almost felt like there was going to be another bit of drama. Maybe Bryan has goaded him into doing it. And then he goes to do it and manages to free his arms, reverse it into maybe a heel hook. I was surprised the heel hook didn't actually make an appearance. I'd have thought, given that Kofi's big finisher is kick based and he's very athletic, I'd have thought there'd been more focus on that. Maybe they're saving that for a rematch. I'd be down for that. So basically, the only thing that I'd really change here is not having the. Actually, no. I was going to say not having the T-shirt. Saying new WWE Champion release during the match, but no, I'm going to say that that what should have happened, what should have gone away, was the people tweeting that and putting it everywhere online, so people realised. Because like, what are you doing? Just watch the match, you moron. And secondly, I wouldn't have the plimp of the championship just kind of in shot. Because it was in shot, and it's like, as soon as you see it, you think, oh, okay, right, I see where this is going. And I think they did later put the Raw and SmackDown belts, women's belts, on similar plimps later on, as like with kind of rugs, as if that was gonna, like, somehow seeing that after the match has already happened would think, oh right, so it wasn't inevitable, but Kofi just won, so it probably was. So just don't have that in shot, and then you basically got the perfect match, and it was brilliant. Next one, Samoa Joe versus Rey Mysterio. Very short. I'm going to try and summarise it as quickly as they did, because I started talking this at a roundabout on my timeline. It probably won't be here at about 5 minutes, so I'm going to give myself a minute. Oh god, you wasted 15 seconds already waffling. This was good. I realised that Ray was injured, so I suppose having a short match is probably good for him. I would have said it was a bit weird that he hit the 619, because that kind of made it seem even, despite the fact it was a 1 minute squash match. So if it was me, I would have either had Ray fight through the thing, have him go about 5 minutes and put on a pretty decent match, or if he can't do that and but he still wants to do the match, just have him try for the first Hurricane Rana to the ropes. Can't do it. Kahina Clark loses. It's very short. That'd be a very short match, but it would be really impressive for Joe. Either way, it was very impressive for Joe, and Joe should hold it up forever. Stop! There you go. Hadn't planned to do that. That just sort of came to me. But I'm genuinely, I'm going to get my breath back. I'm going to edit it out, but I'll move on to the next match afterwards. Breath restored. And actually, I said I'll go on to the next match. But I'm just going to, before we get there, I'm actually going to talk about Triple H versus Batista. For reasons that will become clear in a minute. On this match, we all kind of knew that Triple H was winning. And we all knew that the match would take a while. It's a Triple H match, of course it does. But I think it was alright. There were some very good moments. I really liked the pulling out of the nose ring. Like, that was very good. I like seeing Batista's facial expressions. That was great. I would have taken time off it for a start. I would have taken about 5-10 minutes off of it. Secondly, I wouldn't have Triple H's entrance be some sort of Mad Max for the PS1 type entrance. Thirdly, And it's very rare that I feel sympathy for WWE commentators, but I wouldn't have had Michael Cole being forced to say, "How cool was that?" and then there literally be a minute of silence. Like, none of the other commentators speak, and the announcer isn't saying anything, and it's just dead air. It's like, what? Why? It's as if Vince had told him to say it, like put it in like his notes to say when Triple H comes out, say how cool was that, and then he sees it and suddenly he realises, that wasn't actually that cool, and goes in the headsets of Corey and Shawn Michaels and just said, "Don't say anything about the entrance, just let it be there." To me, actually, I'd say that the deafening silence after Cole said that may have been one of my favourite moments of WrestleMania, so maybe don't change that. But, you know, that's just what happened. Actually, if we're talking about entrances, ideally, Batista wouldn't have tripped over on the middle rope when he got into the ring. But in the same way, I'd probably also keep that because that kind of added to its charm. And I think that's all. I would have had, if there's one other thing, I'd say if he wants to cement Batista as a heel, maybe have him attack Shawn Michaels. Because there was no real reason for him to be out there, because he's not really a commentator, but he was just kind of at the commentary desk. So why don't you just have him attack Michaels when Triple H is down, and that can inspire a Triple H sort of comeback, or what have you? I think it'd be nice. And also, the Ric Flair being involved in the finish, I get it. It would have been nice if we hadn't have seen that second sledgehammer. Because at that point, I think I did say at the time, why are there two sledgehammers? I quite like the idea that they both try and hit him with the sledgehammer. And by the way, if you ever want to actually end Triple H's career, it should be with a sledgehammer shot. Like, full on, ham it up, go to like sort of execution levels. I know that you're not actually swinging a sledgehammer like you would actually use a sledgehammer onto the back of somebody's head is a very bad idea, so it probably wouldn't work. But for poetic justice, having a young up-and-comer do that would be amazing. I think I've had that idea in my head ever since the build-up to the Rollins Triple H match, and I've been stuck in there ever since. And yeah, I think overall it wasn't a bad match, and I think as a send off for Batista, I think it worked quite well. It wasn't perfect, but you know, changed some things, and yeah. Now, the next two matches I'm going to put together. One happened before the match, and one happened after. And you can probably see where he's going, because you've got Roman versus Drew, and Corbin versus Angle. Now, I said previously when talking about this angle that I would have had some really young guy who would need it come up, like Andrade, to end Kurt's career on a loss. But if we can't do that, if we work with what we have, then it would have really, really, really benefited this for Corbin and Drew to just swap places. Swap. There they go. Because the original, from memory, the original plan, well, I say original plan, these plans were thought up last minute, but the original idea was to have Corbin face Reigns at Mania instead of Drew. And I suppose it makes sense that you want to put Drew in that match because it's a big match for him, and it will kind of put over the idea that Drew is a big guy that Roman would want to face in his return match at Mania. But this match, the Roman match was, I've seen people describe it as kind of typical Roman Reigns match, which I suppose is kind of you'd expect, but this was a real victim of the show being too long, because there wasn't really any energy in the crowd. In fact, at one point I hear this I hear a visible amount of boos when Reigns is doing something, and I have like a war flashback saying, no, don't do it. But it turns out they're actually booing the top part of the crowd that were doing the wave, the Mexican wave, as it should be, as it is the official name of it. It is the Mexican wave. They don't call it the Mexican wave in America. I don't know why. There may be some connotations to it that I'm unaware of, and if there are, I apologise. But yeah, so instead, what we do, put put Baron in this place, and instead of having a long match, it goes about 5 seconds. Come to think of it, you would need to put it in a different place on the card because we would have just had Joe versus Ray. So maybe putting Triple H Batista after Joe versus Ray, like I did here, would work. Okay, because again that would be a long match. But the short Corbin versus Reigns goes about 5 seconds, just a spear, 1, 2, 3, and there you go. That's a way to bring someone back, and then you have Angle's retirement match, and I think that makes a lot more sense than having Baron Corbin do it because Drew absolutely humiliated him on an episode of Raw when they had a match. So Angle can basically say, "You completely, you schooled me in front of my pals, mate. So if I can't get to your level, then I really should retire." And then you can have a similar sort of situation where the match would be better for a start, and then it really looks like Kurt's pulling out all the stops, and it looks like he's going to win, but he just can't quite do it. That way, there's no massive heat from the fans. The fans wouldn't hate it at all because it's a big push for Drew, and it just makes sense. Also, one other thing, I wouldn't have Kurt after the match say, "I would just like to hear the 2 words that, what was it? Epitomised my career," referring to you suck, because, well, one, nobody would say that. That's the most clunky line since "For the Love of Mankind" Shane jumped off the cell. Well, and secondly, like even Kurt, with Kurt's character of embracing the "you suck" chants because they just happen, even he wouldn't actually say that "you suck" epitomised his career. What epitomised his career was being an Olympic gold medalist, winning like 6 world titles, and just genuinely being awesome and having a receding hairline. But in fact, actually, why was this match not marketed as the Battle of the Hairlines? Can't be worse than what we got. Just saying. And on that note, I think it'll be time to move on because we're getting towards the end now. Demon versus Lashley. I think this match was actually quite good. I think it could have done being a tad bit shorter given the kind of mystique around the Demon. But I still think you could have Lashley have a good showing. I would have quite liked it if that, because Lashley did sort of have a spell of kind of dominating the match, which, again, when you've got this sort of character like a Demon who comes out occasionally, you probably don't really want to do. I'd have liked it if that kind of awesome spear through the rope spot, instead of him just doing it because why not, because I've got contact lenses, grr. Instead, that's like a moment of desperation of like, oh Jesus Christ, I'm about to get my ass kicked, and then doing that'd be, if he had that context, it'd be amazing. Amazing. And also, I would have liked a bit less tongue action from the Demon. I don't know why. I can only assume it's Vince that told him to do it. I think Finn Balor's career is being halted by one thing and one thing only, and that is Vince McMahon getting in his ear and saying, "Hey Finn, do this." But boss, that'd be really unnatural. Just do it. Do it. Because I don't know what. He never did the tongue thing before, so God knows why I do it now. And also, it's the same thing as to why he's almost perpetually smiling the whole time. Because it's the same reason why Ronda Rousey was when she was a babyface. Because Vince just said, must really like their smile. And said, "Buddy, when you smile, the world smiles with you. So go out there and smile!" And then Finn just looks insane. And then the Demon looks like he's a bit of a... No, actually, I'm not going to say that. Oh dear. I hadn't even crafted that joke in my head. You can probably see where it's going, given it's around the tongue. But I don't even want to know where it would go. Actually, on that note, I referenced this on Twitter, but I did a tweet where it's like the Demon has won the match or something like that, and then after every word, I used the tongue out emoji. Unfortunately, that means that is now very high up on my frequently used emojis, because I don't use emojis very often. I'm not that sort of bloke. But up in my... In fact, actually, my my frequently used, I may as well share this. The crying laughing one is top, which I imagine it is for everyone. Then it's the very nice sort of hand gesture, the OK signal. Then weirdly you've got the musical cleft emoji, standard happy face, crying face, just sad, the smile with a drop of sweat thing, and then the tongue. And I realised afterwards that that tongue probably has quite a lot of dodgy implications. So that is a sacrifice that I made for WrestleMania, along with loss of sleep and probably dignity. But that's what I signed up for, I guess. And lastly, last match. Although I will say, just get rid of that dance break thing. It's like, we don't, like, that's completely unnecessary. We do not need it. Go away. It was the triple threat for the Raw Women's Championships. I think I said Raw. I meant to just say Women's Championships. I think I said Raw Women's Championships. You know what I mean. You probably watched the show. So, well, good things. 1. Charlotte arriving in a helicopter. That was good. I like that. That was very good. 2. Rousey being played out by Joan Jett, who didn't look young, but still definitely had it. That was good. Becky winning just as a concept. Yes, good. Ronda calling everything that she sees a bitch, including a table, which was unexpected, but a nice surprise. That was good. Now and also the bump that she took when Lynch drop kicked her when she was doing the armbar over the ropes, because that was brutal. Oh boy. Negatives. When the table actually broke, that was the tables are this weird sort of consequence of WWE taking the women's wrestling so seriously. I realise that sounds really, really weird out of context, but what I mean by that is that the tables are designed so that they break when a certain amount of weight is put through them, and that works perfectly fine for the men's matches because they have a lot of varying weight, but they tend to be quite heavy. The women, generally speaking, are lighter. So I remember, was it the Hell in a Cell match that Charlotte and Banks had, where they just could not get through the table? They could not get Banks through the table, and she tried with everything that she had. And I think it was a similar situation here. Charlotte did go through, but it was a really crap table break. It looked like the sort of thing that you could probably do with a spoon if you were vigorous enough. But again, they can't help that. I would say potentially get tables that break under slightly less weight. I realise that is a bit tricky, given that hypothetically, if they were using a men's match, somebody could just put. I mean, I don't know, but hypothetically, someone could just put their hand through it. I doubt that they would need that, but it's. Again, I don't know the ins and outs in this. I don't think that would be the case, but it's always a risk. So then, if you just had tables specifically for women's matches, that would look a bit dodgy, if you know what I mean. And the finish, I don't even know what to. The idea of Lynch reversing is it Piper's Pit? It's called Piper's Pit into a crucifix pin. That is a good spot, and I like it. And I remember at the time, I think at the time I was just happy for the show to end. I saw it, I was like, oh, that finish really surprised me. It was quite a nice surprise, but really, it was not the right move, because what we all wanted to see was Rousey, or Flair, I guess, but probably Rousey, tap out to the Disarmer. And there was talk that they didn't want to do that because Rousey had never tapped out in judo or MMA, so they didn't want to have a character consistency there, which is weird, given that she was literally going on the TV saying wrestling is fake, because it is. Then she could have tapped out and no one would have minded. That's what we wanted to see. And also, they botched the finish, kind of. I think. I don't. Did they? It's still. I'm still confused by it because I suppose you could be trying to set up Ronda eventually coming back and getting like a rematch, which would be good if you're going to have a tap out. Have a tap out then. If it's like a one-on-one rematch at SummerSlam, that would be good to see. But also, we don't know whether it was done accidentally or it was meant to. But also, it's a really weird way of getting out of a crucifix pin, especially doing a crab position. Why hasn't Bray Wyatt done that? And by the way, if that fucking bird, dinosaur, chicken puppet in a box is Bray Wyatt, then I'm just going to give up with him entirely. Because what in the name of all that's holy is it meant to be? It's a bird that's a dinosaur, that's a puppet in a cardboard box, and it's got a Hawaiian shirt on. What the fuck? How much acid has been consumed and who by? I'm so confused. That part in the Raw and this finish is just confusing. So basically, have Lynch just win with a tap out, and yeah, I don't want to see a bird dinosaur. I got really off track, but never mind, because it brings us we've gone off the track, but as it happens, it brought us to the destination, that being the end of the podcast. So thank you very much for listening. If you've enjoyed it, then please do give us a like and subscribe on YouTube, and subscribe to whatever podcast provider you happen to be listening on. You can give us a review on those. If you want to get in contact with us, you can tweet us at throwingbookpod or email us at throwingthebookpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to hear more of me, I do a podcast with a friend of mine, Timothy Broad. It's called Two in the Bush. You can find that on iTunes, Acast, Stitcher, and YouTube as well, actually. And I think I forgot one. SoundCloud? Did I say SoundCloud? I'm going to say SoundCloud. And I don't think there's anything I've forgotten. No, I don't think there is. Although, what I will say is that eventually I'll go back to. If I could change one thing about what I changed about WrestleMania 35, I'd mentioned the thing I've forgotten. That joke didn't work. So with that, that bitter disappointment, I will bid you all farewell.